What is going on, guys? Hope you're all having a really good Tuesday. I'm doing it solo tonight. Hopefully, Sheets has fun at the game, which I like a lot. So let's just get into it real quick because all of this stuff popping up, and then we have Porzingis midday downgrade. We know that usually means the guys are out. Illnesses can be a little bit different, but it is definitely something to think about. So I do think that trying to backload is a good idea. The problem I'm having is I like some of these plays in the earlier games that I think are going to get overlooked. I'm not getting to. I'm just going to go game by game real quick. Pop in questions, pop in what you're doing as we go, because I'm just going to go game by game and then give you an outlook of what I'm doing, and then we'll answer questions and go from there. Utah, I like Walker Kessler, and I think that the low ownership because of the center position is interesting. I don't love him, and we'll talk about Jalen Duran in a second. I like him on the other side too. They're two of the 5K guards I'm considering. If anybody's announced out, then I would have some more interest. But I actually think that those two are very, very solid. Or sorry, Walker Kessler is a very solid play. And then on the other side, I really like Jalen Duran. I think Burks is fine. I think Ivy is fine to take shots on. I think that Stewart is fine. I just think that getting the better spots later on. The guy who I really do like, though, who's not projecting as well point per dollar, is I'll take shots on Bogdanovich anytime on a small slate. So I definitely think that you could make an argument. I've got a 2v2 I'm considering what to do with, and one of it is half of it is Bogdanovich. But I do like Bogdanovich actually quite a bit here against his former team in a good matchup at home, and I like Jalen Duran. I think Jalen Duran is going to be too low owned, and he's just until he doesn't get there for us, we may just have to keep playing him. What is his over under for rebounds tonight? Because if you're out there and you can get that, like I can't bet it here. I have to have somebody else bet it for me. But honestly, like Jalen Duran should not be under 10.5 rebounds as a projection. And if you think that that's the case, then you should probably be playing him in DFS. That's the way I'm looking at this. And he's literally, it's kind of been a joke with his projected rebounds because he basically gets there in the first quarter every game. It was like 7.5, it was like 6.5, 5.5, and all he's done is look at his rebound numbers as a starter. I think he's averaging 13 or 14. So that's another little side note. But I do like Duran and Bogdanovich the most from the first game. The Golden State game, I'm not getting to any Ty Jerome. I am getting to some Moses Moody. I think that's a better upside play because he can play with Poole and Thompson. I'm still not in love with it. We're kind of starved for value and hoping for more. It's a minimum cost thing I'm considering. Other than that, my plays, I like Poole, Thompson, and Draymond. I think Draymond is probably my favorite of the three, but I think all three are firmly in play. And I do really like playing at least one, probably two of those guys. And I really like on the other side of that game playing either Quickly or Brunson, leaning a little more Brunson myself right now. I feel like his projection, I mean, he's not being overlooked, but I haven't heard people talking about him that much. And then my next plays are talk about the 5K centers. Randall is right there with the other guys for me. I have them all really, really close. Maybe let ownership dictate, and in that case, that means I will play some Mitch Robb because he's 5,200. I think that trying to play one of these Knicks, I think that makes a lot of sense on this slate. And it's weird because I think that the right strategy is to backload, but I like some of these plays in the earlier games. Patrick Williams, I'll get to in a couple lineups. I have no Alex Caruso at the moment. It's fine, but it's what you're getting, and it's just kind of weird that people are sort of forcing him in here, especially at a guard position. So I'm probably not going to do that. I don't mind DeRozan at all. Don't mind Levine at all, but not getting to much of them at the moment just because the other plays I like better. On the Miami side, I would be playing Highsmith. I will be playing Highsmith and Oladipo as my main plays in this one. Considering what to do with Jovic, I think taking a large field on Duncan Robinson is a good idea. But let's see who's starting before we do anything. And again, it leads me away from playing guys at these positions in the first game. So mostly going to stick to center. Unfortunately, that means I may not get as much Bogdanovich as I like. I like Highsmith. It's funny. You look at the projections. I think that SaberSim has Highsmith at 24 minutes. Roto Grinders has him at 30. It's just kind of interesting to note that because I think there's a really good chance he does get the bulk of the minutes tonight. They haven't played Jovic and what's his name together very much. And Bam and Jovic. I just think there's a better chance for Highsmith to play more minutes and just do things while he's out there to get you there. Last time he played 30 minutes, he put up 26 fantasy points. And I'm willing to take a shot. He did play a 27-minute game where he put up 4 fantasy points. That's a little disheartening, but I don't mind taking a shot here in a good matchup. He's active. He should play more minutes than Jovic. So I'm siding with Oladipo, and Jovic is my favorite. Obviously, no problem with Hero, Struss, Jovic, and Bam. But I'm going with Highsmith and Oladipo as my favorite plays from that game. And that's partially because I really like trying to get to some of the Ja and Jokic stuff. Too many centers. That's one general strategy thing. I will be playing a center in most utilities here today. I'm going to act like Porzingis is going to be out, which just makes me want to take shots with Daniel Gafford. That's a big, bold stance to take, but I think Gafford is yet another center. I wish one of these guys had forward eligibility, but I think you do want to play a center at utility, because I've got 5 centers that I'm trying to play, and actually 6 that I'm trying to play at least 2 of in every lineup. So I'm probably going to end up with a center in almost every utility spot. I do think Bradley Beal is more in play as a run back if you want to stack up the Phoenix thing. This is a tough one to figure out. I don't love any of this Phoenix stuff. And it's a good matchup, and it's one of those where I may just have to suck it up and maybe deal with it. I'm wrong. Damian Lee played 37 minutes last night. On a back-to-back, has he ever played 30 minutes on the back of a 37-minute game? And by the way, even shooting 5 for 10 from 3, he still barely got there at this price. And 37 minutes. That's not an exciting play. So people who want to play Damian Lee, I get the value thing. Definitely safer than some of the names I mentioned, but he's 4.3. It's not like he's 3K. I don't think this is a lockdown play by any means. I may end up with some of them, but I don't think it is. I think Shamet is every bit as good of play. He played 29 minutes last night, so he played a little less minutes. Didn't shoot the ball well, and yet somehow was more productive per minute than the aforementioned Lee. So I kind of like the idea of Shamet. Now, some of that was bench stuff, but this game, they're going to play everybody. They only got 10 bodies right here. There's going to be some sneaky Dwayne Washington minutes. If something weird happens in this game and they sit somebody, Saric could end up playing some minutes. Ish Wainwright has a big projection. I don't know how I feel about that one. So everybody I feel, and people like Ayton, historically not been great on back-to-backs, but wasn't really a full back-to-back last night for him. He only played 25 minutes, played really well. It is going to be a good matchup, regardless of who plays the center for Washington. But I'm just not getting to as many Suns right now, to be honest. And that may end up being a glitch for me. As of right now, I'm okay with it. Sort of forcing me to gamble a little bit more in spots where I don't want to. And, the other thing is you could just play a bunch of these guys and then just sort of like reshuffle around for the late games. But I really like that Knicks and Warriors game, and I like the Pistons and Jazz game too. But the game I really like, because I'm going to have my most money allocated, I just like I like the Ja and Jokic on these slates. Like combining for 100, I feel like is not their floor, but if the game stays close, it's probably their floor. And if the game doesn't stay close, I think you could be looking at 150 from these guys. It's that kind of a game environment. Maybe 150 is a little greedy, 140, 130. Still, it's a pretty big number for 2 guys. So if you can find the right value, get your 20s in there, get your mid-range plays to get you the 35s, you could easily get, put up a big number if those guys do what they're supposed to. I also like Steven Adams at center at 5,100. You're just going to keep hearing me replay this. His ceiling is probably higher for minutes because of Jokic on the other side. The only thing is Jaren Jackson could also sub over to Jokic, which makes Adams a little lower owned for me personally. I'm sorry, Adams a little lower for me. I love Jokic. It's a tougher matchup against Adams directly, granted, but I just love him without Porter in general. We could get the sneaky Michael Porter's in, and that could F me over. But if that doesn't happen, we also still have Jamal Murray questionable. I think he's probably going to play. But if he doesn't, it's going to make Jokic just that much better of a play, who's already a really good play. But center is loaded. And then you have Bruce Brown, who becomes an incredible play without Murray and is completely fine with Murray playing. So those are the guys who I'm sort of prioritizing there. So my early builds are pretty similar to what they were, with a few little switches because I was using some value savers. I mentioned Patrick Williams a little bit. Like, do we just go down to Highsmith and Moody and take that shot? Moody is officially starting right now, right? They did start him. Well, now his projection is going to go way up. So we just got the starting lineup. Yeah, Moody is starting. Shoot. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I kind of liked Moody better off the bench because, like, if Curry was in, like, they're going to get him some shots. I just don't see Poole and Thompson trying to get him shots, but he does have Draymond who's going to get him shots, and Looney's not going to be taking any shots except for putbacks. So that's pretty much it there. But I'm overweight on Moody, Bruce Brown, Oladipo. I'm going to be overweight Highsmith, Duran, Jokic, Morant, Draymond as my biggest overs, and then I also, the one other guy I'll add to that is going to be Bogdanovich. It's very weird to me that I keep hearing these other sites say that you have to play 3 Suns. Maybe because of the swappability you do. I am not getting to that. I am absolutely not finding that in my builds, and this could be a mistake. It may be something I need to change here because it is really weird to have 10 bodies available against Washington, even on a back-to-back, and not have a ton of interest. And look, all of them look just fine to me, but I don't see them as being significantly better plays than these other plays. So as of right now, I guess that's my big underweight stance is Phoenix, and my other underweight stance is Jovic, Bam, Hero. Basically anybody on the Suns not named Oladipo, Highsmith, and a long shot Duncan Robinson play. All right, let's get it. Thank you, Joanne. Always nice to see you in here. I know basketball is not your sport, but I appreciate always love to see you in there. Brody says, let's get it. And guys, I just told you all of what I'm doing. Why don't you drop in what you're doing on this slate with some questions, with some thoughts? I would encourage, like, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, you do want to get to some, 3 Sun lineups and things like that. I'm just not crazy about it personally. Everybody looks just fine to me. That's how I have it. And Suns are still favored by 7 for what it's worth. So nothing really going on there. It's weird to me though. Like, you have 10 guys. Some of them don't play much. What if something happens and, like, DeAndre Ayton last minute scratch, and then you get Saric in there, Biyombo, one of those two. Probably Biyombo actually, but I don't know what. It looks like right now, like, RG is now projecting officially Porzingis out. Is that official that Porzingis is out? Because I'm assuming he's out, but I have sites that are conflicting on that specific topic. You got SaberSim projecting him in. I usually go with SaberSim on most of these things. I actually am inclined to lean more towards RG and assume that it's more likely that he sits than he plays. Hopefully we will find it out soon. I don't promise it. Oh, no, they updated it. And now we have Daniel Gafford again as the best value looking play on the slate, which is going to change things a little bit for me. So it makes me want to spend in that mid-tier more and not do the Jokic Morant thing. Can I do it? I don't know. This is going to be a tough one because I really like playing Gafford, as you guys all know. And I don't care whether Gafford starts or not. It means zero to me. I told you guys this last time. Everybody freaked out, and Gafford went out and he put up 31 or something that night at 3,800, which is totally fine by me. He's projecting for 28 tonight. He's got 40 plus potential in him. They don't tend to always play him all the minutes. Some of those games haven't gone exactly right. Even the last game, by the way, he put up 24, and that was a game with Porzingis against the Lakers. So I'm going to get some Gafford into my lineups and probably in my big one too. The weird thing is, like, Gafford versus Duran, do we need to think about that? Like, Duran's a better play to me still than Gafford is, even at 48. It's close though. Really close. I think that you could try to play those two guys. The problem is I like Jokic, and I'm really struggling with it tonight, which is why I didn't go. It is official. So yeah. Kessler and Duran, I just went through this, MC. I like both of them, but there's too many guys here. Yeah, I just went through that one. That's a tough one. I now like Gafford. How many minutes are we giving Gafford here? Projected at 26 minutes. That seems about right. Boy, I'm having a little trouble because that's going to mess with my whole building system. I really wish Gafford had forward eligibility. I really wish Duran or one of these guys did. It's just unfortunate. One thing I can do is I can switch to Gafford over Duran, and that means I can play Isaiah Stewart, who I also kind of like. But probably the right thing is to do is to head more towards the later games. Shoot. So that's pretty much the rundown. Pop in questions or thoughts, because that's pretty. I'm not going to have a whole lot more to talk about. That's pretty much what I've got for now until we get other news. Yeah. Kind of interested in playing Beal a little bit too. That would force me into a Suns build. Chalky. Not gonna love being chalky on a small slate. Shoot. I mean, who are you guys playing from the Suns? Like, I get like that Ayton. I think Ayton's fine, and I think that Chris Paul is fine, and I think Torrey Craig is fine for tournaments. I think Damian Lee's fine for tournaments. But you're getting cash game ownership. I think Mikal Bridges, same thing. All these guys are going to be cash game owned, and they're all fine for tournaments to me. And that's usually a spot where I just jump off. Maybe what I'll do is play Landry Shamet, who won't be owned, and Torrey Craig, who won't be owned, because I don't see them as being any different than the guys who are owned ahead of them. I don't think, Rich, that's an impossible question to answer. Sarge, for value. We don't know who's playing for if the Suns in that, as of right now, the answer is no. Could he potentially be by the time that game plays? Sure. But as of right now, I mean, even with 10 bodies last night, he played 4 minutes in a blowout. How many minutes are we really expecting him to play? Conley is a good point guard. Not for me. I will have 0 Mike Conley on a back-to-back. I will not play Mike Conley in general that much, and I certainly will not be playing him on back-to-backs. He is statistically a good play, projection-wise. I won't have Mike Conley as a priority tonight. I think he's adequate. I mean, think about it. He's projecting for 30 fantasy points. Since he's come back from the injury, he hasn't put up 30 fantasy points once. He's put up 17 or less 3 of his games. Why would we be playing Mike Conley at a high ownership? Just feels like an awful play regardless of result. Decent matchup for what it's worth. Sorry, just double checking a few things. But yeah, it's impossible to answer the Suns questions unless, we see something different from them. I'm trying to look at any possibilities. I don't see anything that's really standing out in a crazy way for me. Yeah, shoot, that's pretty much where I am. Okay, here we go. Questions coming in. There we go. I figured out once I started doing stuff on my phone, I would have some. DeRozan or LaVine. Those are 2 very different prices. I think DeRozan's the better play. I think LaVine has upside. So it just depends. I'm not trying to get to either of them. If I end up with either of them, that's the way I'm treating them. Interest in Utah with Sexton's been out for months. Sexton being out crossed over with Conley coming back. So that's not a relevant situation at all. It's really only Olynyk who's having an effect on this for me. Not for months. Sexton's been out for weeks. Excuse me. Feels like months because we've been playing so much DFS. Yeah, Walker Kessler is I think a good play. I went through that one already. But I'm not especially into the rest of Utah. I do think you could stack that game and make an argument for Clarkson or any of these guys, but I'm just I'm not getting there personally in my builds. There's just too many good reasons to play other guys than those guys for me. Clarkson has that ceiling though. You can always play him and he'll probably get you 25 and sometimes he's going to get you 50. FanDuel, Durant or Gafford is what you're stuck on. Are they both only center eligible on FanDuel? Let me just see the prices. I don't even think Gafford is relevant on FanDuel. I don't know where that's coming from. He's 5.3 over there. I would not be stuck on that problem. I'll tell you that right now. Neither of those guys stand out to me on FanDuel. I don't think I'd play either of them on FanDuel. I think they're both like fine for tournaments on FanDuel, but I think you just suck it up and on FanDuel you play Jokic or Ayton or even Bam at center. He's got forward eligibility. All of these guys who are great plays. I'm only talking about DraftKings. I'm not talking about FanDuel. I don't love these prices on any of those guys. I mean, they're fine, but there's nothing. I wouldn't be trying to get to Durant or Gafford over there. It's only for large field. Like I would consider that like a long shot tournament play. But I look at the other prices and everybody's over 1,000 more over there. So maybe play I would be much more inclined to pay up at center on FanDuel just with the way that the pricing is. Butler's not playing. He's been announced out for a while now. All right. Anything else, guys? We got a bunch of you in there. Come on, pop in some more questions. I guess if I had to decide on FanDuel, I would pick Durant over Gafford, but I'm not very interested in either of them. If I was playing multiple lineups, I'd probably throw Durant into a few of them. Just he's got some upside with the shot blocking ability, and so does Gafford. But Durant's minutes are much more secure than Gafford's are, even with the rotation. Well, they're probably just a little more secure. Durant is probably almost definitely going to play 28 to 30 minutes. Like it's just been every game. That's what we've seen from him, except for foul trouble, and even that he still played 24 minutes in that game where he had foul trouble against the Lakers. Yeah, those prices are not very tempting for the centers on FanDuel. Please hit the like button, as Rody says. We appreciate it. We also would love any more questions. I got a few more minutes to sit here with you guys. Otherwise, I'm going to jump out of here, finish my builds, unless you guys are wanting content to keep talking. And maybe now, contrarianly, you can go for double spend up at center on DK. That's one way to get a little different that I actually like. Yeah. Barrett or Bridges? Barrett. But Barrett for me. I like both of them. So I think that's a really good one. I think that they're both very similar plays, and I like Barrett a little bit better. But I think they're both very good plays. Maybe you give Bridges the edge because he's playing in a later game. I think Barrett has a higher ceiling with that, unless Bridges just gets crazy hot or something. I'm going a little bit with Barrett on that one. That's a good question. Beasley, just a fine tournament long shot play that I will have 0% of. Yeah, Beasley has had you could argue that even with all these guys out, I mean, the guy put up over 40 one time in like however many months it's been. Not for me. I think he's totally fine as a tournament flyer, but you're just playing a tournament flyer. Like Bruce Brown is a significantly better play, gets there much more often, and has the possibility of Jamal Murray being out, which would boost him hugely. Okay, what else do we have here? Looks like all the questions are drying up. Guys, we appreciate you very much. I'll be in Discord trying to answer whatever questions as things come up. I'll just tell you right now, when you write it 2 minutes before the lock thing, there's almost a 0% chance I'm ever going to answer. But doesn't hurt to try. But try to do it as soon as you can, because I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to do what I can. I just have to look at my lineups, and I can't answer questions with 2 minutes before lock when something changes. It's just impossible. Anyway, I appreciate you guys very much, and I want to make some money tonight, so let's get it done. And Discord is really here. I'll pop it in there again. If you're not in the Discord, you're really missing out. I mean, I don't even do these. If anybody listens to these shows ever, I don't like be in our Discord. There is no reason not to be in a Discord while it's free. Gordon or Kuzma? Who is he talking about? I don't understand the question. Aaron Gordon or Kuzma? Is that a real question? They cost they're in a totally different price range. There's nothing that stands out about Aaron Gordon tonight. I don't really understand the question. I guess that makes it obvious that the answer is definitely Kuzma, but I don't really understand how you can decide between those guys at that price change. Like you shouldn't be leaving 2,100 on the table. Beal or Paul? Yeah, I still don't understand the Aaron Gordon question. I never understand questions like that. They never make sense to me if they're from different games and they're 2,100 difference. It's just a huge price gap. Like, it's like, do you like Ja or do you want to play Oladipo? It's like really hard. How do I answer that question? Beal or Paul? That's a good question. I like the idea of going with the lower owned of the two in general in that. And because Chris Paul's on a back-to-back, I think he's still going to project really well. And I think that Beal is the tournament answer. I think Chris Paul is the cash game answer. That's what I've got here. I think it's a really and that's a really good question. Yeah, I think it's a really good question. Beal or Paul. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. If there's no more, I'll give it another 30 seconds for the delay. But let me know if you do have any more. I like the Beal play. I'm on board with the Beal play. Do keep in mind one thing about the Beal thing though. It's not fun to play against Mikal Bridges for an entire game. This is not a good matchup for him. It's a terrible matchup for him. So take that with it. Keep that in mind. And Porzingis being out on the season hasn't really affected his usage all that much, but could easily lead to a higher ceiling. So I actually think that's more fluky, those numbers. So I'm okay with taking the Bradley Beal, taking a shot on the Bradley Beal tonight at lower ownership. I think it's a really cool play. Anyway, guys, good luck to everybody out there. Hope somebody takes something down. Be in Discord all night as much as I can.